During the Canadian federal election, Valerie Real Estate did a survey to try to gauge consumer sentiment. How was the election affecting buyers' plans, sellers' plans, just realtors' clients' plans in general? Here's what we found. Now, the election is about 25 days in the rearview mirror at this point in time, so I want to take a look at the market numbers to see if there's any indication of activity picking up. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Rob Marsiglio. I'm a sales representative with Valerie Real Estate, Canada's first ever AI powered brokerage. On this channel, I dive into the numbers of the GTA real estate market every single week to bring you actionable insights to help you out with your buying, selling, or renting journey in the GTA. If it's the type of content that interests you, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss my updates going forward. Every single Monday across social media platforms, X, Threads, and Bluesky, I share this update. It's active residential resale housing across the GTA to try and get an idea as to where inventory is at, where it could be headed, how things are trending, and how we compare to the previous year. This past week, as we talked about in last week's video, was a big update. The GTA broke through the 30,000 active listings mark for the first time since, I believe, 1995. Somebody showed me a snippet from a Treb Market Watch back then. So that's 30,506 active listings as of the past Monday. That is up from 20,833 roughly a year ago. So call that a 50% increase in active listings. But this has been a story that's been building for quite some time. We know that inventory surged into the fall last year. And then this year, from the bottoms in January, it's just been an upward trend ever since to this 30,000 mark. So that's not surprising. What I want to look at is sales activity to see if that has changed at all in the wake of the Canadian election. And here's what that update looked like this week. The 30-day rate of sales for the second straight week post-election, that's this red dot here, has climbed to about 5,600 sales every 30 days. You can see that a year ago at this time, we were at just shy of 6,500 sales in a 30-day period. And that was about 2 weeks into the fall off from the peak that we really saw in mid-April. Again, we saw another little spike in June before things really fell off into the summertime, bounced back a little bit for the fall, and then kind of entered into this, Q1 of 2025, leading up to where we are at right now. But is this jump in sales activity something you can attribute to kind of that post-election period, or is this just seasonality playing out? I'm going to try to answer that question in the next few slides. And this is how I want to do it, looking at daily reported home sales per the Toronto MLS, starting off with the election campaign period. So we've gone through all 6 elections going back to 2008 for this video, and you can see the daily reported sales. So this is on a daily basis, weekdays, weekends. It would be higher on weekdays, lower on weekends than these numbers indicate, but this is how it all averaged out, came out in the wash. And you can see that in 2008, there were 212 or so sales per day through the campaign. In 2011, we had about 290 sales per day through the campaign. 2015 was about 276 sales. 2019, about 275 sales. 2021, about 272 sales. And this year, slow year 2025, we had about 179 or so sales per day through the election campaign. And the campaign that I think we'll pay most close attention to is 2011, just strictly because it happened at around the same time of year. In 2011, the election was on May 2nd. In 2025, the election was on April 28th, and the campaign lengths were about the exact same amount of time. Now, the orange bar represents the 30 days preceding the election campaign to see what the rate of sales was kind of coming into the election campaign. So you can see that the 30-day period before the 2011 campaign, we saw about 286 sales per day. So that actually ticked up slightly through the election to 291 or 292 sales per day. In 2025, the 30 days prior to the election campaign, we were seeing about 154 sales per day, and it ticked up to 179 or so. We also saw activity tick up in 2019. That's a September to October election campaign, but it trended downwards in 08, 2015, and 2021. To complete the picture, I also looked at the 30 days post-election. We don't have quite 30 days yet in 2025, but you can see that the daily rate of sales has gone up by about 14 sales per day right across the Greater Toronto area since this is from April 29th to May 22nd. So we're seeing about 193 reported sales per day. Something similar, an even bigger jump in the kind of rate of sales in that 30-day period. Went from 292 or so up to about 328 in 2011. Then every other year, with the exception of 2021, it was either flat or down. And again, I attribute a lot of this to the market. The 2021 campaign ended in September, late September. So you still had kind of prime fall selling market. The GTA market really tends to be quite active up until Thanksgiving weekend. And here's just a reminder of what that sales cycle looks like across the GTA, looking at the average monthly and median monthly home sales per Treb Market Watch. I think I touched on this in last week's video as well, but you can see sales usually do peak in May before coming down into the summer months of August. September even tends to be just as slow as August in terms of reported sales before picking up slightly in October. So that's that kind of September into October sales rush that I'm talking about that we tend to see in the GTA fall real estate market. And to project what 2025 looks like, here is actual numbers from the Treb Market Watch reports from January to April. And then here is kind of my projection for May using the number of sales that we saw through the first 21 days of the month, and then trying to use that daily average to come to a monthly total. So take this number, plus or minus 300 sales. We could maybe be up as break 6,000 sales this month. We could be a little bit less than this 5,900 number that I'm reporting, but you'll see that the line, regardless, even if you moved it up a little bit or down a little bit, it's not really out of trend for what you're used to seeing. I'm thinking that sales will pick up in May like they usually do. Not to the extent, like we'll still be well shy of what we see in a normal, an average, or a median May. So from looking at just the reported sales numbers, I'm not seeing this kind of rush of buyers coming back to the market and transacting. But sales only tell one side of the story. We want to try to look at other activity markers to give us an indication as to whether the market is picking up. And what I like to do for that is look at showings volume across the Greater Toronto area. And I'm sorry if I gave you some false hope that there'd be some big revelation in the showings numbers, that they've really ticked up as well. But as you can see, leading into May, showing volume is, down or roughly the same across Broker Bay, which is our booking platform, in May. It's not ticked up significantly. This fall off here is for the long weekend, and then this bigger dip is because we are kind of have an incomplete week's worth of data. So I'd expect this number to kind of tick back up a little bit as well. We can revisit this in next week's video to give you an update, but I'm not seeing a rush of showing activity, which I think is a leading indicator of buyer activity and offer activity, quite yet in the GTA. So really no signs that those 60% or so of buyers who are putting plans off have decided to come back into the market as soon as the election wrapped up. Now, I know that I'm seeing more signs in my neighborhood and out here in Whitby in terms of properties going up for sale, and they seem to be sticking around for a little bit longer. Listing days on market and property days on market was up in the most recent market watch as well. What are you seeing in your area? Lots of for sale signs? Are you seeing lots of sold signs on those for sale signs as well? Or does it seem like inventory is just sticking around? Have you been speaking to people who are getting their search kind of reactivated post-election? Or maybe there's still some, geoeconomic, geopolitical turmoil that is holding people back just a little bit. Let me know what you're seeing down in the comments below. All in all, just to put a bow on it, I'm not seeing a ton of activity that's out of the norm post-election. Sales numbers weren't suppressed out of the norm during the election period compared to previous election campaigns either. And coming out of the election, it seems like we're just following the seasonal path. That's kind of my 2 cents. Again, I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. If you got some value out of this video today, please consider liking the video and, like I said, subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any updates going forward. Maybe share it with a friend who would get some value out of this video, somebody that's thinking about starting their home search, thinking about selling their home in the coming months. And as always, if you just want to talk shop, talk about your move, buying, selling plans, there is a link down in the description of this video where you can book a call directly with me in my calendar. So head down there to that link, book a call. I look forward to speaking with you. Thanks so much for sticking with me right through to the end of another video. Until we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.